is time for the first time in a while, and I will say this still counts, a Victory Monday edition of Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton. Fulton Cast here with you to lead things off. Solo for now. Jake should be in shortly. He'll be here to join me coming up later on this hour. But after I spent an entire Friday, nearly an entire Friday for those of you who are with me, nearly an entire Friday, imploring all of you to just be patient and that good things for this Kansas City Royals team were on the horizon. That I promised you that if you give them time, they would start to figure things out. That the pitching was good. The pitching was fantastic so far through the year. And if that keeps up, they'll be fine. That comparing this team to 2012, a team that started 3-14, ended up winning 72 games, that if you just give it time, they are not as bad as we all thought they were. And I am vindicated after a great weekend out in San Francisco for the Kansas City Royals. Thank you all once again for joining us here on Mic'd Up on this Monday afternoon. The Royals won a series. They won their first series of the year. They took 2 of 3 games from the San Francisco Giants over the weekend. They nearly had a sweep. They're 5 outs away from a sweep yesterday afternoon before some late inning mishaps regarding Ryan Yarborough led to a 3-1 defeat at the hands of the San Francisco Giants. But overall, the Royals took 2 of 3 games. They're headed to Texas tonight to begin a 3-game series with the Texas Rangers. And this Royals team is beginning to figure things out. They have some great pitcher performances. Chris Bubich might be a dude now. We will get to that coming up on today's show. We do have a jam-packed edition of today's show. We're going to recap the Royals weekend. And what did we learn? What did we learn over the weekend between the Royals and the Giants? We're going to look at that as well as also look at the Royals' upcoming series that begins with the Texas Rangers beginning tonight. The Chiefs signed a wide receiver over the weekend. No, it was not a big one like we were all expecting, but we will look at the Chiefs signing Richie James over the weekend and kind of what that sets up and what that makes things kind of set up to be for the Chiefs wide receiver room going forward. And if this means with the signing of Richie James, they're just going to draft 1 or 2 wide receivers, and they're going to call it a day. We're going to look at that going forward. Odell Beckham Jr. finally signed with somebody. It was the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to break down the deal between OBJ and the Ravens and look at how, well, the Chiefs probably got themselves lucky by not having to deal with a deal like that. It is Monday. It is the month of April. Therefore, it is a mock draft Monday. Jake and I will look at a couple mock drafts around the NFL, give our thoughts on who they have going to the Chiefs and what areas, and seeing what we think of the Chiefs drafting plan as the draft moves ever so closer. And then, of course, we'll have a little bit of overreaction, proper reaction, and we'll look at the Masters as John Rahm is your new Masters champion with his victory into securing the green jacket over the weekend. As always, you can join in on the conversation on our text line, 785-272-9429, or you can watch us live on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Sports on 580 is the YouTube channel. Click subscribe if you have not. We would appreciate it. You can join in with the live comment section of the show. But we begin today with me feeling incredibly vindicated. I was prepared to have a lot of egg on my face on this Monday morning, because I spent all of Friday telling all of you that the Royals were not as bad as we think they are and that wins were coming. I didn't want to talk to you about hard hit rates and batting average on balls in play and all the things that you'd been getting beat over the head with over the first week. It was the simple fact of give this team time. It's a small sample size. Was a big part of it. And then I wanted us to look at that pitching staff and how well they had been doing at all of their great numbers through the first 7 games at that point. And they were good numbers. They were playing well. They were pitching incredibly well. And that alone, if the pitching looked like it had been solved, that the offense, the thing we were all confident about going into the season, that the offense would pick it up, figure it out, and this team would start winning ball games. And that's exactly what happened. The Royals got 2 stellar pitching performances over the weekend. They got 1 poor one. The poor one came from Brady Singer which surprised at least me, and I assume most of you out there that of any of those three guys you were worried about the Royals not performing well was not going to be Brady Singer. But the Royals take 2 of 3 from San Francisco. Brad Keller gets to start on Friday, and what Jake and I did, and I have Jake's notes here, so I'll kind of go through his notes, and we'll get his more accurate thoughts when he joins me later on in the show. We looked at what were our biggest takeaways this weekend for this Royals team. Jake and I each had a pair of takeaways we took from these games. And Jake and I's number ones are both pretty similar. For Jake, his biggest takeaway is Brad Keller might be becoming a guy again. Against the Giants, Brad Keller went 5 2/3 innings in the 3-1 victory on Friday afternoon. Brad Keller, 5 2/3, just 3 hits, 1 run allowed. He did walk 3, but he struck out 3 as well. Brad Keller's really figured something out, and that start against San Francisco was a difficult one because he obviously did not have his secondary stuff. If you watched that game on Friday, if you were listening right here on 580 WIBW, his slider and either version of his slider, whether it be the regular slider or the sweeper, and his curve were just not feeling right. Nothing about them felt right. They were all popping out of the hand improperly. They weren't finding their spot. They weren't breaking like normal. It was a little bit of a rough start for his breaking balls, but he found a way through it, and he kept throwing and kept working through it. Only gave us the 1 run in 3 innings. Then, of course, the bullpen with Ryan Yarbrough, Aroldis Chapman, Scott Barlow were nails, and the team was able to get through it and win a game that was very tight, only 3-1. Thanks in part to a pair of home runs for the Royals. Vinny Pasquantino is starting to figure out his timing. He had a good day. He went 2 for 3 in that game, including the home run. And Salvador Perez corked one on a golf swing to left, and it wasn't even his most impressive golf swing homer of the weekend. So that's what happened on Saturday, and that's one of Jake's big takeaways from the weekend is how good Brad Keller was. Jake's second takeaway as well was the home runs for the Royals on the weekend. They had 5 homers on the weekend. By the way, Junior got one, his second of the year. Salvador Perez hit 2 over the weekend, including a massive one in Game 2. Franmil Reyes got a hold of one, hit his second homer of the year, and Vinny Pasquantino hit his home run. That was really impressive with what they did. So Game 1 was impressive from the level of they did not waste a great pitching performance from Brad Keller, and they found a way to get the runs in the later innings and find a way to make it stand up and won a close top battle, which is important for this team to be able to win those closer games, the 1-run games, the 2-run games, things like that. That is important. It's something the team does need to be able to do. Then we go to Game 2, which I hope all of you got to watch the second game for the Royals and Giants series on Saturday because it was fun. There were parts of it that were not fun. Parts of that game on Saturday were very not fun. But overall, what a game it was for the Royals in that second game against San Francisco. Brady Singer went 9 up, 9 down his first turn through the order on Saturday. Then he got lit up for 4 runs in the 4th inning, which that inning snowballed. Gives up 1 more run. Brady Singer is able to go 6 innings, so he's able to give the team some length. Gives up 8 hits, 5 runs, strikes up 4, though does not walk anybody. As I noted in our conversations on Friday, this Royals pitching staff has really figured out the walk problem, at least here early. They're not having that same issue with walks that they had all of last year and even the years prior. But this Royals team really, really, really found a way to come back in that game. It was impressive. It starts Bobby Jr.'s home run to make it 4-1 in the 6th. But then the Giants get that run back to make it 5-1. Then the 7th, Franmil Reyes homers. We're back to 5-2. We're at a 3-run game. And if the Royals were down at any point, and I mean at any point, by 4 runs coming into this weekend, all of you would have been like, well, there's the game. Royals down 4-0, no chance, no reason to watch anymore. Game's over. Down 5-2, 3 runs in the 8th inning. I mean, what's this offense going to do? More importantly, they're down 5-2, nobody on the base paths with 2 outs in the 8th. And you're just like, well, what's going to happen now? I mean, nothing good's going to happen. I mean, what can they do? What you get is Edward Olivares gets a 2-out single, gets on base. MG Melendez fights something off, gets a 2-out single, he gets on base. And you get 2 guys on for Salvador Perez. which, as we all know, if there is a Royal you want up in clutch time, it is Salvador Perez. And all he does is homer off of a baseball that was, to use the most specific of specifics, 0.91 inches off the ground. Well, above home plate. Off the ground, above home plate. Get a little more specific in there. Either way, Salvador Perez homered off of the lowest pitch he's ever homered off of in his career. On Masters weekend, Salvador Perez busted out the 8-iron and drove that baby into the stands. And we're tied at 5. And that was an impressive feeling. And that, to me, I'll be honest, is the second most impressive thing that happened for the Royals in that game. The most impressive was Taylor Clark, who proceeded to allow the bases to be loaded with nobody out in the 8th inning, right after the Royals tied at 5. And all of us, and I assume most of you watching were much like me and going, oh my goodness, what is happening? Are they really going to screw this up that bad? Taylor Clark then proceeds to get 3 straight strikeouts with the bases loaded, to strand the bases loaded. Showed a lot of fire and energy, and that was impressive. They get out of the jam. The Royals eventually scored the go-ahead run thanks to a Vinny Pasquantino leadoff double. He was pinch ran for by Nate Eaton. Nate Eaton gets to third thanks to Hunter Dozier, and Nate Eaton scores on a wild pitch. And the Royals win the game 6-5. They've won the first 2 games. They have a winning streak. They've won 2 games in a row. Chance to go for a sweep. Then we get to Sunday, which had the best pitching performance by a Royal this year. And I'm going to get into this more throughout the show today, and we're going to try and break this down when we can. Chris Bubic looks amazing, and that's my biggest takeaway of the weekend. Chris Bubic is a dude. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, and 9 strikeouts. I mean, the Giants couldn't touch him. They could not touch him. And I can get some frustration at him getting pulled at 76 pitches through 6 innings. He's not fully stretched out. He was not supposed to be a part of the rotation until the Daniel Lynch injury. I get taking some time and not risking too much with Bubic. He pitched great. Carson Hernandez did what he could do, but he got removed with injury after his 2/3 of an inning. And then, as we all know, at this point, Ryan Yarbrough gives up the home run to Michael Conforto, and game over. Overall, all things considered, this was a good weekend. You can be bummed as you want that they didn't get a sweep. They were 5 outs away from the sweep and couldn't get it done. It happens. It happens. They couldn't get it done, and it's okay. But this team that everyone was already writing off, that so many people, and I get it, as I told Jake numerous times, I get it. I get the apathy. I get being upset. I get being frustrated because of everything that's led to this point. I understand that. I do. But this team just needs time. And that's my second biggest takeaway from this weekend overall. Patience. It is a virtue, especially with this team. They're going to have stretches like they did to start the year, where it's going to be bad, where they cannot score a run to save their life, where they're going to waste good pitching performances, where they're going to lose games they really shouldn't be losing because they had a chance to win them. That's going to happen. Everyone needs to be prepared for that. But this is also what they can be. They can string together hits. They can come back and win games. They can survive bad pitching performances from their ace in Brady Singer. They can find a way to win games that look like they are not winnable. Patience is the biggest thing with this team for me. You just have to ride it out. You have to. Because there's going to be some ups and some downs. But this is what they showed they can be. This right here, what this weekend was, is more what I think this Royals team can be. The offense will occasionally show some flair. They're going to at times have issues really finding holes because it's not an offense well built on consistent long rallies on singles. It's just not. But when their power gets going, this is a good offense that can score. They have pieces of it that they're still ironing out. There are guys that still need to get going, but some guys are figuring out their timing. Some guys are getting better. And more importantly, they can pitch now. This is a Royals team can pitch now. And that's, I think, why, patience is so important with this team. That's why I spent all Friday talking about being patient with this team, because this is what they can do. They can win a series. Now, they go down to Texas tonight, and that's going to be a more difficult thing, and Jake and I will get to that later on in today's show. But this is a winnable series in Texas because they showed you what they can do against the Giants. A Giants team that is not elite by any measure of the imagination. That I think now, if we want to look back on it, their offensive explosion against the White Sox was probably much about add 80 more muches to that, onto the fact that unless your name is Dylan Cease, the Chicago White Sox cannot field an actual pitcher. But that's still a Giants offense with legit players. It wasn't like it was, Wally and the Pips coming up there the Royals were pitching against this entire series. There were some legit actual bats in that lineup, and the Royals were able to navigate them. The Royals pitching staff should be the biggest story among everything for the Royals right now, and also shows you that having a pitching coach with an actual brain cell is all these pitchers may have needed. Someone that actually goes, we can play well, we can throw what we want to throw, we can do all these different things, can actually happen and actually help this team be better. You never know, but the fact of the matter is Brad Keller got a real pitching coach, added a couple new pitches, and he looks better. His walks are still a problem. He has got to get the command under control, but give it some time. And Chris Buvich looks like an entirely new guy. Entirely new. Nothing of this looks like what he was before. And all it took was a pitching staff and a pitching coach with actual brain cells. It's impressive. It's amazing. It delights me so much what the Royals are able to do right now. And it gives you a level of hope. And I know that's an annoying thing to talk about and something we often don't want to talk about. And we're tired of waiting. We just want to see results, see wins and losses, and mainly see wins. This Royals team can get the 72 to 74 wins. A thing that everyone after that first week at 1-6 was like, man, I wonder if they'll win 65. They can't. They might start slow, but this Royals team can figure it out. It was a great weekend against San Francisco. It was fantastic overall, and it was a great thing to see. We'll take our first time out here on Mic'd Up. Coming up next, we'll recap the weekend with our weekend takeaways and fails. time for weekends, takeaways, and fails here on Mic'd Up. And Jake is finally back and around and existing. Jake, welcome back after the brief absence.
Want a big weekend takeaway and fail. Family time is awesome. Fails are everybody involved in the airport. Except for the new airport in Kansas City.
How was that? Do you like it?
It's fire.
Okay.
It is really nice. It's the second time that I've had a chance to fly out of there.
Okay.
Really nice.
Okay.
Lot of things at this airport. Lots of them. That was great.
I'm glad.
But people and travel, not great. Weather, not great. It's nice now.
It's nice now. It wasn't nice with you getting in.
Well, an hour and a half later when I was supposed to be. That's the whole point of booking a 5 o'clock flight is so that you get home earlier.
Yeah, they don't agree with you on that.
No,
they don't.
No, they really, really don't.
No.
But no, the biggest weekend takeaway is family time is terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Little kids love Easter.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I don't know what the hell the Ravens are doing.
I don't know either, and I'm excited for us to get into that later on in today's show. My big takeaway is this. Jake, are no-hitters good?
I mean, I'd rather have one than not.
Okay, is hitting for the cycle good?
The Royals haven't done that since George Brett.
So then I'm going to say with our response to this, throwing a no-hitter and hitting for the cycle as the same individual is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, University of Indianapolis pitcher Brady Ware in a 14-0 win threw 7 hitless innings to get the win and hit for the cycle. Same dude did both.
What college?
University of Indianapolis.
The Greyhounds.
Yes, the Greyhounds, University of Indianapolis. In a 14-0 win over Drury. He threw a no-hitter and hit for the cycle.
Shout out D2.
That is one of the single most impressive things ever, because those are 2 of the 3 hardest things to do. Only thing harder is a perfect game on top of the no-hitter. But that man did both in one game.
I'm going to one-up you.
Okay.
Traveling with 2 kids under the age of 3.
In sports.
Tougher.
In sports, not in life.
That is true.
I can imagine traveling with 2 kids that are really young in life is very difficult. I can imagine with that. That is our weekend takeaways and fail. We'll take a timeout. Coming up next, Scott Miller will join us to chat some baseball.
Mic'd up, Jake and Fulton Caster with you on this Monday. We've got Royals baseball tonight, and the Royals' best pitcher, Zach Greinke, towing the rubber.
I think Chris Bubich would like to have a conversation with you.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the guy who's probably going to be a Hall of Famer over 2 starts for Chris Bubich, but to each their own. We will get to Mock Draft Monday coming up as well, but right now we are going to talk all things Major League Baseball with our good friend Scott Miller, New York Times contributor, long time baseball scribe, also SiriusXM MLB Network radio analyst. Scott, baseball's full underway. How are things going in your neck of the woods?
Pretty good. Nice to have the season back, and it's always nice, even a slow, sluggish Monday like today. There's games tonight. There's games every night. That's a good thing.
All righty, let's dive into it. New rules. What do you think of them so far a week and a half into the season?
Yeah, I like them. I know players have complained. There has been a little bit of complaining of we need to slow the game down, all that stuff. But I'll tell you what, I think the players brought all this on themselves, and combined with the analytics movement, we reached a point the last several years where, every single move is paralysis by analysis. And look, I'm not diminishing anything. I get that every pitch is important. I get that every at bat is important, but we don't need to turn every single thing into War and Peace. And I'm an old school guy. As you said, I've been covering baseball a long time. We're talking 30 years. I love the sport. I've devoted most of my life to working in the sport. But, there's just the routine nights where every game is a 3.5 to 4 hour slog. It became interminable. And I think it's what we've watched this year with no shifts, with pitchers throwing the ball and not taking 40 or 50 seconds in between every pitch. It's the game we grew up with. It's the game the way baseball was designed to be played. And I'm loath. One of its charms has always been. We've always said, hey, it's part of the beauty is there's no clock in baseball, but it is jarring to have a pitch clock, but I think it's necessary based on what we've watched the last several years. And I think that it's I like what I've seen. I like the product that's on the field right now a lot better than watching the last few years.
You're as plugged in as anybody. When you talk to players and when you talk to executives and managers, is it that they feel that they're rushed? Does it feel like they can't get their bearings when it comes to their thought process? What's the biggest deterrent to this?
Yeah, the rush. That's the biggest thing. I mean, in fact, I talked to Manny Machado for quite a while recently, and that was his gripe. And he got ejected last week because he claimed when the pitch clock got down to 8 seconds, and that's when the batter has to be engaged with the pitcher. He says he tried to call a timeout, and the umpire didn't give it to him, and so he ended up getting strike 3 called on him. So he argued and ended up getting ejected. And I spoke with him a few days before that event, which I found interesting because, he told me flat out, I don't like the pitch clock. It makes things go too fast. There are times you need to slow things down. He said, I'm going to give it a week or so before I make a final decision. But as of right now, I don't like it. So what happened? A few days later, he got ejected. I'm guessing, I haven't talked to him since, but I'm guessing after he gave it a week, he disliked it even more than what he told me based on that called third strike in the ejection. But, there are some things there's always things that have to get ironed out. I was in Anaheim over the weekend, and on Friday night, Toronto Blue Jays, Chris Bassett was the starter, and he got a couple of balls called on him in the first inning because he wasn't moving fast enough. And then it turned out, talking with him after the game, they had old pitch com
Issues.
malfunction. Yeah. And he said, in fact, he mentions Zach Greinke, as a matter of fact, which you guys will find interesting. He said the pitch com, I'm trying to remember, I think he had it on his wrist. Greinke wears it on the belt, right? Or at the waist.
Correct. Yeah.
So Bassett had it on his wrist, and he had seen Greinke wearing it on the waist, and he thought, that's a lot better. I'm going to try that. So in the dugout before the Friday night game, when he was in the process of moving it from his wrist to his waist, he said he hit something and basically reprogrammed it. So the same pitch com, it can get programmed for like Chris Bassett or Zach Greinke or whoever it is. Say the one team, it can get programmed for all the pitchers on the Blue Jays rotation, for example. Well, he reprogrammed it. He did not know who he reprogrammed it for, but when he got out on the field and he went to call a pitch or push the button, it came up with a pitch he doesn't even throw. So that was the delay in the first inning, and he got a ball called on him. And so there was a whole thing there. But anyway, long story short, Bassett hung in there, he recovered, and the Blue Jays ended up winning the game. So he was fine after the game. He was like, there's some stuff like that we need to figure out. And, but thankfully we won the game, and it was not a big deal. Now, I'm sure they lost the game and he got torched. Mm-hmm. It would have been a big deal, and there'd be some complaints there. But so that's an example of some of these new rules that it's going to take a little while for some guys to figure out. But I think all the anecdotal evidence, and you go up to the people in the commissioner's office that are in charge of implementing these rules, like Theo Epstein, and they'll tell you the practice runs in the minor leagues last year, the year before, all the minor league players said when the rules got implemented, it took us about a month to adjust. And then once the adjustment period was done, it was okay. And, we're only 2 weeks or so into the major league season. I know there was some, they were trying to get everybody used to this, the change in spring training. But it also was a disjointed spring training. A lot of guys were off playing in the World Baseball Classic. They didn't have these rules for that. Then the guys came back. So everybody's still getting used to this. I think by May, it's going to be a lot smoother.
Do you hear people who are in favor of all of this and really, really like it and say, no, I think this is fantastic? Because there's always two sides to each story. I'm interested in how many guys you've talked to that are in favor of this.
There are guys. Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, for one, says he loves it. That was a quote from me. I love it. all these new rules. I love it. I think there's a better tempo to the game. He's one that is a pretty prominent guy that loves it. And, I'm trying to think. I mean, there have been other players I've talked to that like it. I'm trying to, think of names offhand. They're generally speaking, I've talked to a number of players that like. I don't remember one that like raved about the rules so much to where I think, oh my gosh, that's a poster child for a guy that loves the rules. But there's not a lot of complaint. I think by and large, the players, when they get called for an automatic ball or automatic strike, they're going to grumble. They're not going to be happy. There are players who, have complained, but there's a lot that do like it. And I think generally speaking, everybody's happy to get done with a game in 2.5 hours for 2:45 versus, 3.5 or 4. And I think even players that are not thrilled with the changes, I think they would even admit to you, yeah, but the shorter game was nice. And I don't, by the way, come at that from the perspective of, hey, let's just see how quick a game can be played and get out of them. I don't think anybody wants that either. I mean, it's not like you get to the ballpark, whether you're a player, manager, or media member, and your goal is, okay, we just got to the ballpark. Now, how quick can we get out of here? It's not that. It's just a better product. And what I do think, go back to what I said about, I think players would admit to you that 2.5-hour games are better than 3.5-hour games. What's going to be interesting is over the summer, the cumulative effect of that, because, you knock 30 minutes off a game on Monday, another 30 off of Tuesday's game. You get 4 months into the season that everybody will tell you is a grind of a season. Everybody admits, and that's part of the charm of a baseball schedule, right? It's the champions at the end are the ones that are able to get through the grind of it all. It's going to get guys off their legs. I mean, you add up the time saved, say when you get to August, I think some guys are going to be feeling better because they literally will have saved their bodies hours when you start adding up 15 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 30 minutes there. By August, it's going to be – I'm curious how guys are going to feel, because I think a lot of people are going to feel a lot better because they've saved their bodies hours from standing in center field or standing at shortstop.
We're talking with Scott Miller, longtime baseball scribe here on Mic'd Up, and this is more of a baseball philosophical question for you. The Royals have got a new pitching coach. They got a new manager. How important is a pitching coach? Because right now the Royals are actually pitching pretty well, and the young pitchers that they drafted back in 2018 are starting to pitch pretty well. Brad Keller was terrible last year. He's now apparently better than average. Chris Bubich was terrible last year. He is better than average. They got a new pitching coach. Cal Eldred gone. Not many people were fans of Cal Eldred. How impactful can a pitching coach really be? I know it's 2 weeks into the season, but you're starting to see that right away from this Royals team compared to last year. But as a guy who's been into a lot of clubhouses and talked to a lot of pitchers, how important is the pitching coach?
Yeah, it's well, first of all, very important. Second of all, with expanded staffs today, now you've got multiple people. I know Brian Sweeney's the pitching coach. Zach Bove, title is Director of Major League Pitching Strategy and Assistant Pitching Coach. I bring that up because, there's a pitching coach and there's an assistant now. So you've got multiple voices. I think, it's interesting because pitching coach carries out, there's obviously a lot of analytics people and such that are watching film of these guys, breaking stuff down all the time. So it's different than it used to be. 30 years ago, you had one pitching coach that would watch Brett Saberhagen throw, and at the end of his game or his bullpen session, they'd talk. And, one of the key, I remember, you're opening up your shoulder. You need to tuck it in, keep it close. That's just one example of a mechanical thing that used to come up all the time. Now, with Rapsodo and everything else, you've got all kinds of eyes on film, and it's up to the pitching coach and now the assistant to carry out the technical changes or suggestions. But beyond that, I think a lot of people can do that now, but sometimes the change in voice is important. And I don't know if that's what's going on with the Royals right now. To your point, the guys that they depended on from that draft in 2018, the guys that probably, truthfully, ultimately cost Dayton Moore and Mike Matheny their jobs, right? Because if they developed at a more rapid pace and begun to win, then there probably wouldn't have been the big changes. So how much of this is what we're seeing in the early going is real? Obviously, it's a small sample size. I mean, hopefully for the Royals organization and for the fans, what we're watching is the beginning of a change, and these guys are going to pitch well and come through, and it's going to be a better season, and there's going to be hope on the horizon. How much of it's the pitching coach back here? I think, somewhere between some and a lot. It's hard to know.
To quantify,
it's kind of like, it's hard to quantify, but I will say I think the biggest thing sometimes is hearing a different voice and maybe being told the same thing but in a different manner. Sometimes that just clicks with guys. So, credit to the coaches and what they're doing this year so far, and hopefully it sticks.
All righty, you brought it up, small sample size. I am so intrigued, and every single baseball guy that we talk to here early on, I always want to ask him, what is the line in the sand where you now don't say small sample size? The former GM, general manager Dayton Moore, we know this because he said it all the time. He said 40 games. 40 games is when you can say, all right, enough with the small sample size, enough with the, well, it's early talk. What is the number in your mind, Scott?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think Dayton's right. I think around 40 games. You could fudge it a little, say a third of the season. 40 is about 25%, 162 game seasons, roughly 25%. If you bump that up to a third of a season, that's about 60 games, 61, 20. That's my math can be a little shaky. 60 is more than a third, right? 60, 120, you're talking 180. So, I mean, 50 games is a third, right? Let's try that. 50,
close,
100, 150. 50, 52 games is a third. So somewhere between that 40 and 52 range, I think, is when you begin to say, okay, this is who we are and what we are versus, small sample size. So I think I'd go with what Dave said, and maybe even, you could grade on the curve and say 50 games instead of 40. But I think that's a pretty sound indicator.
All righty, my last two for the road. Two final questions for you, Scott. My very first one I've got for you. The Royals are they're going to move downtown in downtown Kansas City. Just a little logistical issues, and maybe not logistical, more monetarial issues. Are you pro-con downtown ballpark compared to the suburban style of ballpark?
I love the Royals ballpark. I've always loved coming to Kansas City. I'll in a way, I'll hate to see them move downtown because that's where they played for so long. And, I can get all corny about tradition, and I can get nostalgic about the tradition of things. That said, the downtown ballparks are fabulous. Not just the way they are, but I mean the newer ones. But I mean, it energizes the city. I mean, I live in San Diego. I live in a suburban San Diego, but going downtown, seeing what Petco Park has done for San Diego, seeing what, I love Pittsburgh's park, just to walk across the river from downtown. Cleveland, what Progressive Field has done in Cleveland. I mean, it's a great thing to be able to, go downtown early, have dinner before the game, or go to the game and then go to the dinner, or get a appetizer after the game at the bar or whatever. So downtown parks that's where we're at now, and I understand why they want to move. But it's more convenient for people if you work downtown. You don't have to make that special drive out where the ballpark is now. So I think that's where we're at now. Everybody wants to play downtown, and it's a good thing for the city when it gets downtown. But I'll miss whenever that day comes. I'll miss where they are now.
All right. Lastly, as a neutral out there on the West Coast, I don't think I've ever asked you this. Salvador Perez, at the end of his career, what percentage do you give him to make the Baseball Hall of Fame?
No, I don't think you have asked me that. I tell you what, I'm going to give you a couple answers. One, I haven't crunched the numbers. I'm going to have to look at all the numbers. That's the first one. Secondly, a player like him, as iconic as he is to the city, helped the team to 2 World Series in a row, including a World Series win. He checks a lot of boxes. Take statistics away. He checks a lot of boxes. Now I'm at my computer. I'm doing a quick, 1,283 hits is going to be awfully light.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's awfully light. 225 homers. I'm going to say statistically, he's going to be lacking big time. So that's going to drop it to at least, I'd say, no more than 50% or less to make the Hall of Fame. Now, 7-time All-Star, what I just said about the World Series, he was a World Series most valuable player. All that stuff to me is extra credit. It factors. I mean, it's important. But I think given the fact that he's 32, he's going to have to accumulate some more numbers between now and the end.
Hey, that's why I want an outsider's opinion. That's why we need it. The homers will be big. If he can play another 2 or 3 years and hit 30 home runs every single year like he's done, then he's got a chance to get the 300 home run mark as a catcher. That's pretty rare. So I think that's what is biggest, I guess you could say, positive for it. But I'm always interested in that type of thing. Scott, thank you so much for the time. Enjoy the weather out there in San Diego. No, you're always going to enjoy the weather out there in San Diego. So we'll wish you a great rest of the week. Thanks so much, Scott.
All right. You too. Take care.
Scott Miller, longtime baseball scribe. I always like to ask that. What do people think of Salvador Perez? Baseball writers like him, but they don't.
Which helps.
They don't love him like Molina, because Molina's hitting stats are not great.
No, Yadi's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's going to frustrate me.
Like his numbers are not great.
No, they're not. He's got all the little superlatives though around him, and the baseball writers like him. Great leader. Caught a lot of games.
Yeah.
He was a great defensive catcher. I'll give him that. I will give Yadier Molina. You could consider him the greatest defensive catcher of his generation. I could give you that. I will happily give you that. Because he was really great defensively. Yadi was, I believe, for his career, a below average hitter.
He's at 2,100 hits, and he played another 6 years longer than Sal has.
Yeah.
And he's got 176 home runs. Sal's already got 225. Yeah.
I think as long as Sal doesn't have a big fall off and can play till about 35, I think if he can keep what his production's been up to that point, I think he'll get in because he'll have just enough counting stats, but he'll also have all those superlatives. The writers like a World Series MVP, meant everything to Kansas City. He's a World Series champion. 5 Gold Gloves at this point. 5.
Let me check. Hold on. Let me pull it up real fast because I was typing this up there. 5-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger,
7-time All-Star.
Yeah,
was often considered during his peak. One of if not the best catcher in baseball, right there with Yadi. Yeah. I think he's gonna have enough superlatives as long as the counting stats are there. He'll be fine.
Coming up, we got lots more to get to here on Mic'd Up. Mic'd Up. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Vaughn along with Fulton Pastor on this Monday. Royals in action tonight against the Texas Rangers. Zach Greinke on the bump going up against some cat named Heaney. He's not good. He's not good. I looked up his numbers while I was on an airplane. They got to hammer this dude. You got to win this one.
Yeah, he has one start this year. He went 2 2/3 innings against the Orioles and gave up 7 runs.
Yeah, you got to get this dude.
And listen, I, am not the only one who may have pointed out the fact that Andrew Heaney, his only good year coming with the Los Angeles Dodgers, a team known for practicing witchcraft on their pitchers. Wouldn't imagine that Heaney would get bad going somewhere else.
I'm guessing,
but I'm also saying I'm one of many people who said he would get bad wherever else he went. Big shock. The guy who has never been good before had one good year with the witch doctors in LA because it's actually magic is what they do because there's no reason every pitcher that goes there is good. It's not, they made Tyler Anderson good. I disagree with all of this. So I'm just saying, I'm not shocked that Heaney's not good anymore.
We got a lot of Hunter Doziers out there.
Got a ton of them. Just, if you're a pitcher and you want to be good and get a payday, go to LA for a year. They'll have you throw like an ERA below 2. You'll get paid, and then you can go fleece some other team and be terrible and get all their money. It's easy for you.
Just don't come to the Royals.
Please don't. I'm happy the Royals didn't sign either Heaney or Anderson.
Coming up, we will get to a little bit of NFL news, the latest when it comes to that. Lots to get to. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429, outside of Topeka. 785-272-9429. We'll talk more Royals baseball coming up a little bit later. It is Mock Draft Monday. We will get to that coming up in the 2 o'clock hour today. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, are they set at wide receiver? Because they did make a move, and I like this move. I think this is a good move. The Chiefs have signed former Giants wide receiver Richie James. Now everybody's going to say the words with me. Richie James, with the inflection of a question of who is this guy? Well, I can tell you this. Richie James was actually very productive this last year for the New York Giants.
The Chiefs just love ex-Giants receivers.
I can tell you this. When it comes to the Giants, they don't throw it a lot because they've got Daniel Jones. But he was their second leading wide receiver.
True.
Behind Darius Slayton. All right. He also was tied for touchdowns. He had 4. All right. Now, Richie James. All right. This will be his first contract after, let me rephrase that. It will be, he's signing a 1-year deal. He played 3 years for San Francisco. And then he played this last year for the Giants. He's 27 years old. Okay. He is not a big guy. He is 5'9", 185 pounds. He is not a big guy. This signing of Richie James, to me, is like the Justin Watson signing last year.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't a guy that you say, oh, well, yeah, he's going to replace, Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not, okay? This is a depth signing to me. And if they can get anything out of Richie James, that is a positive. Justin Watson had 15 receptions for 315 yards and 2 touchdowns, all right? That is what Justin Watson had. I think Richie James can end up with more than Justin Watson. One, because you don't have Juju Smith-Schuster, who took a, 100 targets away from the Kansas City Chiefs. But I like this signing. I do. I think this is maybe a step above the Justin Watson signing, because right now, here is your wide receiver room if you are the Kansas City Chiefs when you've signed Richie James. Now, he was signed late Friday. I don't believe you had a chance to talk about Richie James.
No, the
air.
Richie James news broke after I was off the air on Friday.
And so right now, your top 5, okay, would be MVS, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Richie James. That's your top 4. And then I would probably lean, because they seem to love him so much and everybody loves the guy, so why not make him number 5? That would be Justin Ross, right? Mr. One-handed catch that wasn't a catch because he bobbled it before he got 2 feet in bounds. That's your 5.
Yeah.
MVS, Toney, Sky Moore, Richie James, and Justin Ross. You still have Cornell Powell, John Ross, Jarian Ely, Smith Marset, which, I mean, those are guys,
They're bodies.
They're
They're camp bodies.
If they didn't have Travis Kelce, I would be worried.
Yeah.
But they still do have Travis Kelce. They don't really have a number 1. They got a lot of number 2 wide receivers. But if you want to go with number 2 options, I think it's okay. I think MVS is a number 2. I think Kadarius Toney is a number 2. I think Sky Moore could be a number 2 if there isn't somebody like a McCole Hardman and like a Juju Smith-Schuster in front of him. When you look at what Richie James did, he was their number 2. Now, the true definition of a number 2, however you want to describe it, I mean, T. Higgins is a really good number 2. That's really good if you're a number 2 wide receiver, right? T. Higgins would be a number 1 for the Kansas City Chiefs. This gives the Chiefs at least 5 wide receivers before the draft. And I like Richie James. I think the Chiefs now have just got a bunch of yards after the catch speedsters out there.
Yeah, they just got a bunch of slot guys.
Really quick, shifty. I mean, Toney, Moore, and Richie James are all, the same type of thing. They're a bunch of, bishops and rooks that can just go down the chessboard and back and diagonal and back, They don't got, any knights where it's like 2 and then over to the right like that. That's not even MVS. MVS is more of a rook, I would say. Just straight and left, you know what I mean?
Yes, as we continue to compare wide receivers to chess pieces, I would say MVS is a rook.
Yeah. And then I would look at, the guys like a Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. They are more of like your bishops.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there's no queens out there.
I mean, there's Travis Kelce,
but he's not a wide receiver.
Yes.
Are we just going with pass catchers?
That's what I think is important to this conversation. I think that's a good segue into the important part of the conversation. The Chiefs, as of their current incarnation, I think we need to stop defining some of these things by position separation. It's just
we need to go basketball wise, right? It is positionless basketball. It really is,
because for any other team, you look at this wide receiver room and you go, man, that's your wide receiver room? But the Chiefs don't need that because they have Travis Kelce. He is, he is basically wide receiver 1. The problem is he's listed as a tight end. So that's why I think the better way to define what the Chiefs are doing is, what are their pass catchers? And they have one of the best ones in the NFL in Travis Kelce, and they just need some other guys who can do some things around him. So that's what they have.
Right now, then, let's rank them here, okay?
Yeah.
Your number 1 option, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, number 1 pass catcher.
Your number 2 option, Kadarius Toney, who doesn't have the stats, but has
the talent,
has the skill set.
And we've seen it. We're taking health out of the equation. Toney's your number 2.
Then let's go. Number 3 is MVS.
Yeah, I pressed MVS.
In the most important game of the season, he was a monster.
He showed up.
He can do a few things, so he would be your number 3. And then that gets me to where I do think that this isn't as big of an issue as people think. Your number 4 behind Kelsey, behind Tony, and behind MVS. So your number 4 pass catching option is either Richie James, who
It's not flashy, but he's shown he can do work.
Last year he had 600 yards receiving.
Good enough for a 4th pass catching option. Had 4 touchdowns?
Four touchdowns last year, almost 600 yards.
Yeah.
And then you've got Sky Moore as your number 5,
who started to come on last year as well. And then this is not even counting. As I thought more and more of this, I really think if a wide receiver falls within range of the Chiefs, they're going to go get somebody.
Well, and that's the next thing. I don't think that this deviates any plan whatsoever for the Chiefs going after wide receiver because Travis Kelce's not a wide receiver.
No, he's not.
When it comes to the roster.
When it comes to the roster construction and the math, he's not.
Give me another team. Just give me a team.
You know, let's just go with the good friends, the Denver Broncos.
The Denver Broncos. Okay.
I got the division on my mind. Let's just go out west.
All right. The reason I want to bring this up is we are going to go wide receivers depth chart to numbers 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now, you've got Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, right? As your 1, 2, and 3. And Tim Patrick's coming off another injury.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold that Jerry Jeudy nor Cortland Sutton will be on the roster coming up.
Yeah.
But those are your number 3. Alrighty, let's take a look at your 4 and 5 because we know the Chiefs 4 and 5 pass catching options. All right.
Yeah.
Their tight end is Greg Dulcich. Yeah, sorry. I would rather have Cornell Powell, or not Cornell Powell. I saw the Chiefs depth chart. I would rather have Sky Moore or Richie James
than trusting second-year tight end Greg Dulcich, who looked nice, but he's not elite. Probably.
Are you taking Marquez Callaway, KJ Hamler, Kendall Hinton, Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson, Montrell Washington, or Will Jordan Humphrey? Like, that's your 4 and 5 options for the Broncos.
And the Chiefs, I think, are set better than all of those.
I mean, right now, Richie James would be their number 4 pass catching option, and that's when Tim Patrick is coming off another injury.
Yeah, we don't even know. Tim Patrick was great before the ACL injury, but the ACL injury destroyed Cortland Sutton's career.
Okay, ready? Give me another outside of the division.
Let's go to.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
I want to do the Jaguars. Right?
Okay, let's do Jags. That's a good one. Let's go to the Jags.
Okay, the Jaguars depth chart, and the reason I bring that up is because they're a playoff team.
Yeah, that's true.
And they won a playoff game.
They did.
All right. Number 1, Calvin Ridley. Number 2, Zay Jones. And number 3, Christian Kirk. Their tight end is Walker Little, or Evan Ingram, if you will. Okay, so that's their 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley hadn't played in a year.
No.
Christian Kirk, good wide receiver.
He's good.
Really good. Number 1 pass catcher for them is Christian Kirk. Okay?
He's good.
I'd rather have Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
So you win that little checking of the number 1 versus number 1. Number 2 would be probably Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
All right. Is Calvin Ridley better than Kadarius Toney?
Based on production, we got to go Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
Even taking the year off because the gambling, I'm still leaning on Calvin Ridley.
Okay. Then you've got Zay Jones at number 3 versus MVS.
I'm taking MVS because I've never liked Zay Jones.
Okay.
He's not that great.
Their number 4 pass catching option. One of these 7 dudes. Tim Jones, Kendrick Pryor, Jamal Agnew, Willie Johnson, Jalen Moore, Kevin Austin Jr., and Seth Williams.
Yeah, those are a bunch of names.
Would you rather have...
I know quite literally only one of those names, and I spend way too much time knowing about football.
Like, would you rather have Richie James and Cornell Powell? Why do I keep saying Cornell? Because his name's on the depth
He's
chart.
right there, and you keep saying it.
Would you rather have Richie James or Sky Moore than, the Jaguars this last year, their receiving yards here. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. Real quick. We'll just get to this. All right. The receiving yards, you had 1,000 yards for Christian Kirk, Zay Jones with 823.
Good for him.
And then Marvin Jones at 529. So there were 4 guys, and then Evan Ingram at 760. So Kirk, Jones, Ingram, and then Marvin Jones. I mean, Richie James had more receiving yards than Marvin Jones. And that's the point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to is that, yeah, I'd rather have Travis Kelce than Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Then it boils down to, would you rather have Zay Jones or Kadarius Toney? Would you rather have MVS or Evan Ingram? Like pass catching wise, and I do. I think that if there's a wide receiver there that they like, now you've got 5 wide receivers, and then the practice squad wizard Justin Ross becomes your number 6. So I don't think I think it's a great depth signing. I really do.
It's a good depth signing, and what I think this signifies is the Chiefs are not probably going to sign any more wide receivers. Like, no, I think free agency wise, the room is set. This is what the room's going to be, and then there's an additional come through the draft, and they'll just let the board speak to them. But I think they've also set themselves up in a position to where wide receiver is not something you must go attack in round 1. If someone falls to you, you can go, and you can get them. But if no one does, you can go other routes, and then in round 2 or round 3, you could then get your wide receiver of your choosing. So there'll be some good back-end options in there too. It's just a good spot to be in. And it's not a flashy signing, but it's a good, solid little depth signing that gives the Chiefs some options.
I like it.
So,
I think it's a good situation. Really, really is. Coming up next, everyone loves the list here on Mic'd Up. List, very, very simple. Best parts of Easter. It was Easter weekend.
It was.
Spent some time down in the Lone Star State.
Going yeehaw.
Yep.
Jake said a lot of yeehaw this weekend.
Yep. A lot of trucks.
Oh,
All right.
big shock.
Let's go with best parts of Easter. It can be anything involving Easter. All right, what do you got?
Number 4 for me, I don't do it anymore because I'm a grown adult, but was fun as a kid. Easter egg hunts for kids are very fun.
Okay.
They're good times. I don't do them anymore, but I enjoyed it as a kid. So Easter egg hunts get a 4 for me.
Number 4, Easter dinner.
Yeah.
Had
That's a big one.
had honey baked ham, had deviled eggs. I feel
Yeah.
like if you're gonna have Easter, you gotta have deviled eggs.
I think so.
I like deviled eggs.
I do too. I love a good deviled egg.
How do you eat your deviled egg? I just hork the whole thing down
Yeah.
there, one bite.
Yeah.
And then
Just
you
stick it all in there,
mush
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
You do not eat your deviled eggs piece by piece.
No,
you
you
just
gotta,
pop it in there like sushi.
yeah, down the hatch.
That's what you
Yep,
do.
yep.
It's simple as that. Number 3 for me, as the concept, not a specific part of it, the Easter egg basket. Another fun gift as a kid.
Okay.
Made it fun.
Number 3 for me, did this weekend, dying Easter eggs.
Very, very fun and very
Yeah.
relaxing activity.
Not relaxing
Well, okay.
when you got a
When you got small
3-year-old and a
kids,
1.5-year-old.
yeah, okay. That's a fair point.
Not relaxing.
That's a fair point.
They had fun with it though.
Good. I'm glad that they had fun.
Okay.
That's the important part. Number 2 for me is the Easter dinner. It's the best part. Ham on Easter is fantastic.
Wait,
And deviled
the best part.
One of the best parts.
Okay, I
Not
was
the
like,
number one.
the number
The
one,
second best part.
Interesting.
Sorry. Yeah.
Number 2 for me, man, the candy.
Yeah.
Low key,
Oh,
people
Easter
think
candy.
Halloween's the best.
Easter candy, man.
Easter candy, the Reese's egg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anything better than the Reese's egg.
I don't know if there is either. The Reese's egg is very good.
Reese's egg is dominant, man.
The Reese's egg is fantastic.
Mhm.
My number 1's very simple. It is candy, but more specifically, chocolate bunnies are amazing.
Chocolate bunnies.
The bigger the
Yep.
better. The bigger the better on the chocolate bunny. But if you get a big old chocolate bunny on Easter, you are happy for forever. Love big old chocolate bunny.
I'm gonna tell you, I loved it as a kid.
Mhm.
It was awesome. It's even cooler when you have kids. The Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, I can see that. With kids, I could see how that's
It's
even more fun.
awesome. My son is just now old enough to kind of do it on his own.
Yeah.
And so we hid eggs all around the house. And I mean, you can't really hide them too hard.
Yeah. Can make it a little easy.
But there was one where I put up way up high.
Yeah.
And he was just looking around and he pointed. He goes, "What the heck? How did one get up there?" And I'm just like, I just started laughing. It was awesome. Easter egg hunts, they rule.
They're fun.
They really, really do. Coming up next, we'll talk NFL and the latest in the Masters. Weekend. I just proved why the Easter egg hunt is the GOAT. The Easter egg hunt's awesome. It really, really is. So hopefully everyone had fun. Fulton got to see the joy of the Easter egg hunt with my son. Had a good time.
Never seen a child look more happy.
He's so pumped. He is so excited.
Just jazzed for what he's
Oh,
seeing.
yeah, jumping for joy. He had a good time with the Easter egg hunt. So hopefully everyone had a fantastic weekend. We've got Royals baseball coming up tonight. Fulton.
Yeah, what's up?
If the Royals lose one more game,
I'm what we call screwed.
well, I wouldn't call it screwed. I would just say,
I mean, I've lost. I
lost.
have lost.
I'm not going to lie to you, Fulton.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm mad that the Royals only got a series win instead of a series sweep is specifically for our bet. Because if they would have swept them.
I only needed 2 of 3 against Texas and we're home.
So if you lost today.
I know. I'd be fine.
You'd have been good.
I know.
You
I'm also boned about that. I'm right there with you. I was feeling good.
That's the only reason why I'm not happy with the series win. I'm not, because like winning 2 of 3 against the Rangers,
Golden.
very doable.
I will also say this: if they do that and they're 5-8 instead of 6-7, one, I feel proud because I was really close to calling. I was like, they can get 6 by then.
Yeah.
Because it makes also, I'll be honest, will make me more mad that it went one of those 2 Twins games that were 2-0.
No, they were 5 outs away.
That's what I'm most mad about. Like, that's what I'm most mad
They're
about.
5 outs away.
I know. It happens.
Did Quatraro go with Yarborough because he knows him?
I mean, it was Paul Hoover, not Matt Quatraro. He wasn't with the team all weekend.
I
will say this has been
He's
announced.
back, though.
He is back tonight. I was going to say, it has been announced Matt Quatraro's back tonight. He has finished his COVID stuff. He's all good to go. He is back tonight. So I'm glad you bring it up. We'll get to our other stuff here in a minute, but I'm glad you brought that up about the Yarborough thing, because Paul was asked about it after the game. This was the explanation, because the goal would have been Carlos Hernandez to finish the inning. He had cramps. It was essentially cramps.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't finish the inning. The idea was with all the lefties, that's why they went with Yarborough. When it was to Flores with 2 outs, the thought was, even if he doesn't get through Flores and get him out, he likely will not drive in the run. And so then you still got lefty on lefty with Yarborough and Conforto. And Conforto had been getting eviscerated by lefties all year. It didn't work out. Yarborough hung a slider that Conforto was sitting on, and home run ball game, 3-1. The process I do not hate. Like, I get the logic. I disagreed with it. I would have rather seen, when things started to not get great, bring in Jose Cuas. Jose Cuas to face one right-handed batter. Wilmer Flores is probably out. And even if Cuas has to face Conforto, like, Cuas in that arm angle, and he's been pitching so well this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go to with it. Because they did say they did not want to bring in Barlow for 4 outs because he's not stretched out enough so far this year. They did not want to risk him having to do 4 outs this early. That's why they said they did not bring in Barlow, because normally later in the year, they would just have Barlow do a 4-out save. So, again, we can disagree with a little bit of it, but overall, they had a logic in place for what they were doing. And in a vacuum, the process is not the worst thing.
Well, and also, he had that was his 4th outing of the year.
Mm-hmm.
2 of his other 3 were good outings.
Yeah, Yarborough hasn't been terrible.
This is his first home run that he's given up.
Yeah, Yarborough's been fine. So it's not the worst idea. And if you are wanting to use a lefty there, that's the lefty you use, because Aroldis had already pitched 2 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about this more later this week. Aroldis on the second part of a back-to-back will be something to watch going forward. His velocity was noticeably down on the second straight day. Yeah. So if you're going to lefty there, I'd rather Yarborough over Amir Garrett. Like, if the thought is I want a lefty to get through these lefties, I'm glad it was Yarborough of who was available.
Is it Yarborough or Yarbrough?
I have no idea. I say Yarborough, but it's probably Yarborough because, more bro, because there's not an Oro in it.
Yeah, it's Brough.
So it's probably Ryan Yarborough, but I always
He's your bro.
Yeah, basically, Ryan's your bro.
Ryan's your Yarbrough.
Yeah. So it's just, that was the process. That's where it got. It didn't work. Like, I don't mind a lefty against Conforto, because watching Conforto against lefties all weekend, he couldn't touch him.
Yeah, no.
Like, he could not hit him. And it just, and they mentioned on the broadcast, Ryan and Rex did, that was a guy who was sitting on a slider in that count, which sometimes guys guess right. And when they guess right and you make a mistake, you throw your hands up and go. And on the same token, Rose had the scoring opportunities in that game.
Remember,
the offense has come through.
You tip your cap.
Yeah.
But Mike Matheny was never a good hat.
Good thing he
tipper.
Good thing he isn't coaching the team anymore.
What's he doing right now?
He's not in baseball, as far as I know. Probably just sitting at his house somewhere chilling. It's what he was doing before. I hope no one hires him again.
Mike Matheny, the guy who can't be hired against Cal Eldred.
That's true. Friend of the program, David Lesky, have started agreeing with his new theory. The Royals need to hire Cal Eldred again just to fire him again. No. Because it should not be this big of a difference.
I get the pettiness.
I know.
I do.
For me, it's entirely a joke.
I just want to move on.
I know. It is insane how just changing a couple of dudes coaching your pitchers has made this exact same staff this good. Shows how bad that man was at his
That's
job.
what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing to ask Scott about.
Does a pitching
How
coach really
valuable
matter?
and it does to an extent. We're seeing it.
Could the Dodgers get me to get an inning?
Maybe. I don't know how your arm's feeling, but maybe
not great.
Problem is, Jake, if we can't pump it up there at least 88, no.
No, the fastest I've ever thrown a baseball is 75 miles an hour.
I think I broke 70 once. Yeah. I've never had a good arm.
Well, I stopped playing baseball after my 8th grade. Well, let's I want to get to the NFL. We will get to Mock Draft Monday coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. Got a little overreaction, proper reaction. As always, hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Let us know your thoughts. The NFL had a bombshell last night.
They did. It was an Easter Sunday news dump.
Odell Beckham Jr. signing with the Baltimore Ravens.
Hey, look at that. Baltimore quarterback finally gets a weapon. And it's really funny to me that that's how Ian Rappaport had to report the news. A weapon for Baltimore's quarterback.
So, do you think, before we get into anything else, do you think Baltimore signing OBJ is a, hey, look, Lamar, we signed your friend and we got you a weapon. Come play. Sign the tag.
It's a little bit. There is definitely a level to this, which is a Lamar, please come back.
Yeah.
It's more like just a Lamar, please just sign.
I think, okay, Lamar has to sign. You cannot throw $36 million down the drain.
Like, if you're throwing away $36 million for whatever principle's happening here, just shouldn't be the move.
Because that's what the franchise tag is, right? 36
for his non-restricted tag is about 36. Yeah,
30.
It's $30+ million. That's the biggest thing. 1 year of $30 million. That's life changing.
That's every time he goes out this year, he makes every Sunday, whether he plays or not, active, inactive.
As long as he gets a game check,
he gets $2 million.
Yeah,
that's essentially what it is.
Basically, $2 million a Sunday. Like. I think that should be the move. Like, if no one's going to give you the long-term deal, and I think he will too. I don't think Lamar will hold out the entire year. He's going to take this thing for a while. I feel like he is in this for the long haul.
Yes.
But if it keeps going the way it's going, and that's what I think part of this is a sign of, like, we've given you Odell. We've given you a weapon, finally. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
They've never spent in free agency on wide receivers.
Nope.
They just never have. I mean, they're wide receivers. They drafted Hollywood Brown, then they traded him. They signed Sammy Watkins to a small deal. They brought in, Deshaun Jackson. They drafted Rashad Bateman. They've never really given Lamar any dudes.
The best thing they tried to do was drafting Rashad Bateman, and he can't stay healthy. Yeah. He doesn't know what health is.
And so this is out of the ordinary for the Ravens. If you look at what they've done in the past, this is very, very abnormal. And the reason why it's abnormal is because they gave him $15 million guaranteed. When I saw from Tom Pelissero, when it said Baltimore is signing OBJ to a maximum with incentives, $18 million. Don't care about that. I just wanted to know the guarantee.
Yep.
What was the guarantee? You can have a $5 million guaranteed contract with
incentives up to $20 million.
$13 million in incentives if somebody wants to do it. I was like, I need to know what the cap hit's going to be. What are they going to do? They gave that man $15 million guaranteed.
Yeah, they did.
On a 1-year deal.
Yeah, they did.
A guy who didn't play a single down last year.
Not a one.
When you could have given Jacoby Myers or Juju Smith-Schuster a 2-year, $30 million deal, and you get it for 2 years, right? What was the Juju contract?
3 years, 33, I think.
He signed 3 years, $25 million, $16 million guaranteed. You get Juju for 3 years for $16 million guaranteed. The cap hit for Juju is $4.6 million this year, $10.6 million next year. And then, if you think Juju's good enough, $10 million for a decent wide receiver at age 29, that isn't very high, but you could cut him.
Mm-hmm.
They got Juju for $16 million guaranteed over 3 years. But no, the Ravens decided to give a guy who hadn't been healthy for the last 3 years, didn't catch a pass at all last year, is 31 years old, and they gave that man a $15 million guaranteed? Now, it won't be $15 million, a $15 million cap hit.
No, the estimated cap hit right now, and these are all estimates still, the official figures have not made their way to our friends at Spotrac yet. The estimated cap hit's 3.9. Because it looks like the way they're going to do this is they got a lot of funny money with void years.
Yeah.
Which is a way to do it. It's not a great way to do it, and eventually comes to bite you in the rear. But the fact of the matter is they're guaranteeing Odell $50 million. And I don't care what the cap hit is. I don't care how you're shaking it all down the tree. $15 million guaranteed to a man who hasn't played football in over a year, coming off his second ACL injury. Listen, Odell's grown on me a little bit. When he went to LA, I realized, maybe he really just does need a little bit of motivation and just needs to not be in a terrible place. And Cleveland seems to be a terrible place overall. So, I mean, maybe you put him with a team he cares about.
Like
it's really starting to look like it. Looking like Odell's dad was right. So, I think, as a player, he should be fine. The fact of the matter is, though, he's had 2 ACL injuries to, I believe, the same knee.
No, the different knees.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Both his knees did not have a torn ACL.
I think it's both.
I have no idea. Either way, he has had 2 ACL injuries. That's all that matters here. That's 2 ACL injuries. Hasn't played football in over a year. And yes, he looked good with the Rams when he was there. But
and the Ravens don't throw the ball.
Well, here's the thing, though. Without Greg Roman, they're changing their entire offensive structure. The Ravens offense will be as different as it's ever been this year. Yeah. And I think they are going to throw the ball more. I think that's the thing that they're doing is they're going to pivot away from this heavy run offense, which you need receivers for, which this signing, I think, indicates. But
you could have gotten Jacoby Myers or Juju Smith-Schuster for half the price.
You have a guy who's going to be here now for probably 1 year, and then after this year, he's going to look for a big deal somewhere else, which let's say he plays the way you want him to play. All right, cool. You ain't paying him next year.
It's the Juju situation.
Yeah, all right, you got it up for this year. Cool. You're with a new offense. No one knows how the offense is going to work in year 1. There could be a lot of kinks to work out. And then number 3, and the most important, you still truly don't know who your quarterback is.
Yeah.
You think you do with Lamar, and you're probably right. If I'm a betting man today, I'm saying Lamar is going to be in Baltimore. But he has not signed a contract with you.
And he doesn't have to until
September
1st.
In reality, if he were to get real crazy with this, he never has to at all.
Yeah.
I don't think he will. That feels a little reckless. But Lamar can make a point and not sign anything. And then, all right, who is throwing the football for Baltimore?
Tyler Huntley.
Cool.
The Ravens normally do things well.
They're a normally well-run organization, but this past year has been kind of just weird.
That's terrible.
What are you guys doing out there?
I don't know what they're doing.
When I first saw the report was that the Ravens signed OBJ, I was like, man, what are we doing? Then immediately I saw the next following tweet, which was the number, and I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Glad they didn't do that.
The Chiefs were in no way in the ballpark.
They were not going to give Odell $15 million guaranteed.
No.
I think they would have given him a contract worth upwards of 12 to 13.
Yeah, with incentives and everything.
It would have been you get $6 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
And you can make the other 7 in incentives.
I mean,
you can prove to me you can still play football.
They weren't even in the parking lot.
They weren't even in the same city.
They weren't even close.
They weren't even in the same state.
No,
and I'm glad.
They were driving on I-70 before you get to State Line Road.
Yes, that's where they were.
You get to Arrowhead. Yeah, they're not
weren't even there.
Situation.
It's insane.
Coming up next, the Masters goes to Mr. John Rahm. What a performance. We'll get to that to finish off this 1 o'clock hour. Weeks until we get to talk about Augusta National again.
I want you to know, and hopefully this delights you, I kept our bit alive on Friday with the Masters theme.
Nice. Good effort.
As I told everyone listening to the show, the bit was just for me at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't care if anyone else liked it. The bit was just for me. Just for me. Sometimes you need this. Sometimes you need a bit that's just for you.
The Masters was a lot of fun.
Weather was insane.
Crazy how it went from, you got guys hitting 5-iron 155 yards, and then the very next day John Rahm is hitting 190-yard 8-iron. Incredible.
It's absurd.
But you had the best golfer playing like an absolute Clydesdale. I mean, John Rahm is
so good.
He's a unit right now.
God, he's amazing.
Love Rahm and Scheffler are the two best golfers in the world right now. What's funny is Scheffler tee to green was the best golfer over the weekend.
Yeah, his putting was just,
I believe he was last
in
putting.
I don't know what happened with Scotty's putting this weekend.
Struggled.
I mean, granted, the greens at Augusta are horrible in the way of like they're very tough.
Yes. So
not like designed poorly.
You had Rahm just
Cooking.
He didn't do anything wrong at all. I wonder if Brooks Koepka will ever be able to close again. Because Brooks, the last major he won, he held on for dear life. He had a 7-stroke lead and ended up winning by just 2.
Yeah.
Shot 4 over at Bethpage back in 2019. Still won.
Yeah, still hung on, but
man,
bad.
he had nothing yesterday.
No,
Didn't do
lost all of it.
anything. I don't know if because he used to be the closer, Big Bad Brooks.
Yeah, and he can't. We talk about it. Closing's the hardest thing to do.
Now Big Bad Brooks can't birdie anything until the very, very end when it didn't matter. But man, John Rahm was just
Surgical.
mowing through people.
Dude was on fire.
Awesome.
And I appreciate that. My pocketbook appreciates
man, it was
that.
fun watching the Topeka Sports franchise. Gary Woodland got it to 7 under.
He was so close.
Oh, 7 under, and then he just couldn't quite finish. Coming up, Mock Draft Monday. Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Jake Lamont, Fulton Caster with you. As always, let us know your feelings as we'll talk a little Royals. Hit us up on our text line, 785-272-9429. Also, check us out on YouTube. Go to youtube.com. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section as well. Get it to our website, 580www.com, on all things mic'd up. Royals baseball tonight. Zach Greinke towing the rubber. He's been awesome.
He's been great.
Offense when Zach Greinke pitches, it's been the opposite.
Greinke, more further reasons to understand why wins and losses are bad stats for pitchers. He is 0-2 on the year and has looked excellent.
Very good. Very, very good.
Given up 3 total runs in 2 starts.
Very good. But right now, it is one of our favorite Monday segments of the year.
Such a great time. Truly.
It's time for a little mock draft Monday.
Dang right it is.
All righty. First mock draft of the afternoon. We are going to go with the Athletic. And Dane Brugler, one of the better draft guys out there.
One of the more respected draft dudes.
Yep. He's got CJ Stroud going to Carolina, Bryce Young going to Houston. He's got Anthony Richardson going to Indianapolis. All right. But let's scroll on down. With the 31st pick of the 2023 NFL Draft in Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs select Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, where the usual.
Mm-hmm. I would be perfectly fine with this pick. I would. Anton Harrison basically turns into Creed Humphrey. And what I mean by that is they had somebody ahead of him, Austin Blythe. They have somebody ahead of Anton Harrison, Lucas Niang. But if Anton Harrison outperforms Lucas Niang, much like Creed did Austin Blythe, then guess what? You got a good backup.
Yeah, you do.
And now Anton Harrison is your starting right tackle, and your offensive line is set for the next 2 years, no matter what occurs. With Taylor, with Tooney, with Creed, with Smith, and then with Harrison. Your offensive line will not change in 2 years because Creed and Smith both have 2 more years under contract this coming year in 23 and in 24. Then to be determined. I'd have no problem with this draft pick in Anton Harrison.
No, not at all.
But what makes it more fun, if this is the draft, is who got it right. Because with pick number 28, the Bengals took Darnell Wright, offensive lineman. Pick number 32, Pittsburgh takes DeJuan Jones, offensive lineman out of Ohio State. So there are 3 of them, all picked within 4 picks of each other. Who ends up being the better offensive lineman? I always like to look at that.
Yeah, so who all would have had the similar idea of who to take and how it ends up getting the right guy.
Just like last year, when it was George Pickens, when it was Sky Moore, when it was George Pickens, Sky Moore.
I think that's also the same time that the Patriots took Tyquan Thornton.
It might have been Tyquan Thornton.
That's the exact same time the Patriots did that weird thing.
Yes.
Which, again, I mean, in theory, the Patriots have earned a little bit of a pass to draft the way they draft. But...
Well, they've been stinking at the draft recently.
Yeah, well, that's also true.
I thought there was it Alec Pierce?
I think Alec Pierce was also selected by the Colts in that time frame.
So you had Pickens. Yeah, yep, I was right. Yeah. So you had 4 wide receivers in a 5-pick span. You were correct. Tyquan Thornton, pick number 50. Then the Eagles took Cam Jurgens.
Yep.
Then Steelers took Pickens. Colts took Pierce. Chiefs took Moore.
Yeah. Little three little run there.
You can see there. And right now, Alec Pierce is pretty good.
He's a pretty good receiver.
Pickens is pretty good too.
Pickens is good too.
He really was too. So that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
The other interesting aspect, pick 33, Darnell Washington, the tight end out of Georgia. That is a monster of a human.
A very big human.
Athletic.
Yeah.
That tight end of the future, they could have chosen Darnell Washington. But instead, the Kansas City Chiefs took Derek Hall, edge out of Auburn, with pick number 63. Need edge help?
You do?
Got no problem with this. Really, really don't. Right after pick number 63, I'm going to butcher this kid's name. He's even a Kansas City kid.
Man, you are going to destroy this.
He is the edge out of Northwestern, Adebawore, I'm surprised he's there at pick 64.
So in
His
that,
measurables scream top two pick.
I'm
or
glad-
top two pick.
yeah,
Top second pick. or
a guy,
second rounder.
Yeah.
Second rounder.
So I'm glad you bring that up because he's a fascinating one to me because I think it is worth pointing out that, that Adebawore is available at 64 in this mock.
He was excellent in the Underwear Olympics.
He was great in the Underwear Olympics. However, Dane Burglar, who put together this mock draft, also released his draft guide over at the Athletic.
The Beast.
The Beast over there. And then friend of the show, Seth Kaiser, did a film review looking at Adebawore specifically as a target for the Chiefs. He did great at the Underwear Olympics. But if you look at everything else, he's about a third-round pick.
Okay. All right.
He has great physical gifts. It will take a lot to make him an elite player in the NFL level. So I think that's about where he should be picked. He's got the Chiefs grad him in the third. I'm down.
Okay.
He's got the Chiefs grad like the first round. I would be questioning it. But still, not a bad player.
So that is who they took with that they could have taken, but they chose Derek Hall in this situation of Mock Draft Monday. In the third round, pick number 95, they took Trey Palmer, wide receiver out of Nebraska. Nebraska sucked so bad the last 3 years in football.
Yes.
I don't even paid attention to it. I'll have to shoot a text message to my Nebraska folks and be like, hey,
who's
Trey Palmer? Is he good? So that is picks 1 through 3 or rounds 1 through 3. In the entire draft, they've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking Harrison, Hall, Palmer, and they also have a few more picks remaining. This is what Brugler says here. Tackle and pass rusher are strong needs for the Chiefs, and they're in good spot to address both issues with their first 2 picks. The tackle options toward the bottom of round 1 should be solid, especially if you need a right tackle, which Kansas City does. Harrison has been underrated this cycle. That's the goal. That's the blueprint is you go Creed Humphrey. You have Austin Blythe. This guy's better. Perfect. Now we have a backup in Lucas Niang. I would like this draft. I would.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a good draft.
I think that's a good first 3 picks.
Yeah.
You get a right tackle you can use in a big guy in Anton Harrison.
Like it.
Derek Hall is a pretty good edge you can grab. And then Trey Palmer, wide receiver with some work in round 3. I like it. I like it a lot.
So that's one mock draft and a good one when it comes to a 3-round mock.
If things shook out that way, Chiefs fans, you should be pretty happy still.
I'd be happy with that.
I would
really
be too.
happy. Very happy. Let's go to the SB Nation mock draft from their mock draft expert. It is a trio of individuals. They've got CJ Stroud going to the Carolina Panthers. Then they got Bryce Young to the Texans. And then they got Anthony Richardson to the Colts at number 3. They got the Chiefs taking Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of Tennessee. In this situation, the Bengals took Anton Harrison and the Chiefs took Darnell Wright. I would have no problem with this situation either. As long as it's offensive line, edge, wide receiver, defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. It says here, the Kansas City Chiefs, after letting starting tackles Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown Jr. walk, they signed Juwan Taylor. Now the Chiefs add a right tackle in Wright, a rock-solid starter, potential Pro Bowl upside. Wright is a physical mauler in the run game who has shown strong hands and power in pass protection. His feet can sometimes be a little inconsistent, and he gets over edge at times, but with O-line coach Andy Heck and the Chiefs' brain trust surrounding him, he can step right in and be a starter. I would have no problem with this.
Yeah.
I really, really wouldn't. If one of them falls there, 31, perfect. Go take that guy. So I like that. I like that draft. In this one, when it comes to the best draft, the Seahawks have a chance to have a really good draft.
Yeah.
Because they can get somebody like a Jalen Carter. He's not going to fall past the Seahawks. There's no way.
They shouldn't.
I know he all of a sudden put on a ton of weight, but that dude he's terrific. They could get Jalen Walker and like a Jackson Smith and Jigba, which they do. Actually, they take Jackson Smith and Jigba with their second pick in the first round. So another mock draft. And then lastly, we will go to 2-round mock draft from our good buddy, Thor Nystrom. Thor has Bryce Young going to Carolina. Will Levis going to Houston. How about that? He has the Kansas City Chiefs, though, taking... K-State fans, cover your ears. Will McDonald IV out of Iowa State. Good player.
I would agree.
I don't know that I would be fully on board with Will McDonald at this spot.
Yeah, taking him in the first round, even at the tail end, is a little dicey. He's someone who most people agree has about a second round grade. And so I don't know how I feel if they went Will McDonald in that spot.
I was okay with Karlaftis because Karlaftis was so raw and he had produced, and you saw something in Karlaftis. I don't know that I would see that out of Will McDonald. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, according to Nystrom, his mock draft comparison would be Julian Peterson. If you're comparing somebody in the draft to somebody that 80% of people have no clue who they are, that's not great. Like the other mocks, right? Kalijah Cansey, defensive lineman. His comp, Ed Oliver. Everybody knows Ed Oliver. Played for the Bills, went to Houston, really good. Cincinnati, Brian Branch, safety. His comparison, Jalen Petrie. Really good safety out of Baylor. Everybody remembers that, right? And you go up a little bit further, Jack Campbell, Buffalo, linebacker. Leighton Vander Esch. Okay, we know Leighton Vander Esch plays for the Cowboys, gets hurt all the time. But like, if that's your comparison is Julian Peterson, don't know if I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
That one, I might say, who else could you have taken? And the two picks right after him, Anton Harrison, offensive lineman, who we've talked about. DeJuan Jones, offensive lineman, who we talked about. You get both of those two. I would rather get one of those two guys than Will McDonald. That's just me personally.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
Second pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you ready for this? This guy's going to be this guy is going to be, I've been thinking about this for a while.
Okay.
It's going to be not on the level of Creed Humphrey.
Okay.
Like, I was adamant about Creed. That might be my best take maybe in the last 2 years.
You were big on Creed going to be really good.
Take Creed, pick number 32. Pick him. They didn't. They got him late. Fools out there. You're fools. And I'm so happy that my large adult Sooner son, Creed Humphrey. I love this pick. I think this is a sneaky good pick. And I will tell you right now, if this is the route they go at wide receiver, I am fully on board with it. Marvin Mims, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
Really like Marvin Mims.
Big Marvin Mims guy. Like him. All right. if they can get Marvin Mims, and the reason I like Marvin Mims is because I think he can do it all. When you look at Marvin Mims's athletic score, it's called the RAS score.
Mm-hmm.
It is terrific. It is in the 9s. If you are in the 9s, you're like the good old, well, he or she's a 9, right? 9 out of 10, pretty good, A 10, that's like drafting Justin Jefferson, right? That's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase is a 10 when you draft him.
Yeah.
I like Marvin Mims. I'm not going to lie to you. That dude can fly. He is fast. For some odd reason, he is not getting the same type of love that Smith and Jigba is, that Addison is, that Zay Flowers is. And I don't know why. I really don't. I think Marvin Mims would be a great pick at pick 63. I really do. If they're going to take a wide receiver in the second round, I would be fully on board with Marvin Mims.
I'd be too. I'd be fully on board with Marvin Mims being Kansas City Chief. Very much so.
And he's faster than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I just don't get it. I really don't. Like, if you look at his athleticism, he's second best in the draft if you combine everything.
Yeah.
I would be thrilled if Marvin Mims is there.
If he is there at the back part of 2, I think you take him.
5'11", $180, ran a 4.38. Great hands. We saw that.
Yeah.
And he's, didn't have a whole lot of, at the end of the year, last year when Caleb Williams was throwing to him, not Spencer Rattler, he's catching everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's my guy now.
That's your new dude.
Not
Creed level.
Not Creed level. Let's be real. Creed level. Creed and Tyler Lockett were two that I was like, I guarantee you they are going to be studs.
Jake would stake his mortgage on that.
Yes. That'd be like putting, your money on the number 18 on the roulette table and it landing on 18.
Yeah.
That was Tyler Lockett and that was Creed Humphrey. I had those pegged from the beginning. This is more of, I'll put half on 18 and half on, 22?
Yeah.
Right in the middle?
Yeah.
And if it lands on 18 or 22, I get paid, but not as much.
Yeah.
Because you got to split the difference.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with Marvin Mims.
Fair. That's fair.
It's quick. And he produced.
He did. That's the important part. He produced.
He produced. I just, if you get an offensive lineman or an edge, and then you get Marvin Mims as your wide receiver,
you're set. Looking good.
I think you are. That's what I would do, because you have a better chance of finding a good wide receiver in the second round than you do a pass rusher to me, especially at pick 63.
Yeah, I can see that.
I
see that logic.
Harder to find good pass rushers at 63. Easier to find wide receivers at pick 63.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's Mock Draft Monday. I would like pretty much either one of these, except for Will McDonald. Not a Will McDonald guy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Not a Will McDonald guy.
Yeah.
Coming up next, overreaction, proper reaction here on Mic'd Up. Action. Proper reaction. I haven't gotten you fired up yet today.
Oh, no. Oh,
I haven't
no.
gotten you fired up yet today.
Come on, man.
I haven't.
What are you about to make me angry about?
Overreaction, proper reaction. Chris Bubich's first two outings, in which he has gone 11 innings
Mhm.
and allowed 2 earned runs,
Mhm.
9 hits,
Mhm.
1 walk,
That's the best part.
13 Ks.
Very nice.
13 Ks to 1 walk,
Mhm.
right?
No.
Okay.
No.
He's changed. Overreaction, proper reaction.
Proper reaction. This is a brand new pitcher. And I want to go this further because I know
I'm gonna give you. Oh, hold, I'm gonna go Kanye here.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay,
I am going overreaction,
that's fair.
and the reason why,
Yeah. What's your thought? It's 2 games?
it's 2 damn
Yeah.
games.
So I think that's fair. I'm not saying you're wrong. Because you're not. It's 2 games. Very small sample size.
Here, drink the Kool-Aid.
Wait, that's Powerade, not
No,
Kool-Aid.
you're drunk on it right now, the way you are.
Here's the thing with Chris and why I say he's the new pitcher. It is honestly nothing to do with the results. It's what he's throwing.
A baseball.
Well, it's the quality of everything he's throwing is infinitely different. As I think you just killed Britt behind me here in his own studio.
Britt is in another
He laughed
studio.
so loud, I heard him through my headphones.
I did too. Britt is
Through my headphones, through a thing of glass behind me.
Okay, first of all, Britt has got to be at least 15 feet behind you
At least.
through 2 panes of glass.
Yes, because that's how these are designed here.
and we
we
both
still heard him.
Britt.
And I got headphones in, so I'm hearing myself. That is amazing. So that's my point here. And the fact that, yes, he does throw a baseball. His fastball right now is averaging nearly 3 miles an hour faster than it's ever been before. His changeup is average with, all the advanced numbers of spin and all this yada, yada, yada. Better than it's been before. The curveball is breaking less, and that's helping him because it's firmer. And his slider, a pitch he himself tried to throw last year because he said, this will make me better. To which Cal Eldred, he who maybe is moving to he who shall not be named, said, no, don't do that. You need to work on your other stuff first. Which is just backwards thinking when it comes to pitching. That is looking great and is an offering that's causing hitters to have to think more. The 2 games, I understand, is a small sample size, and I will give anyone that. If you look, and get this requires looking at, the these nerdy numbers with pitches and spin and
give me the
and
VORP.
horizontal break and vertical break and RPMs and all that.
I
get
VORP.
I get it. The fact of the matter is, I say he is a new pitcher because everything he's throwing is not what he's thrown before. Every pitch is quite literally different.
Are we sure he's not juicing?
I can't say no to that. He doesn't physically look different, but
he using spider tack?
Again, I can't say he's not, but he's also passing all the tests. That's why, I don't think it's wrong for you to say it's an overreaction through 2 games. I'm not going to get mad at you for that. The reason I say it's proper is because everything he's throwing is categorically different than anything he's thrown before. It's all different stuff. It's the same pitch types, but they're all different in good ways, which was my thought with the new pitching staff is Chris Bubic is an intellectual guy. He wants to tinker.
Hey, nerd.
And this staff gave him the freedom to do that.
All right.
That's my point.
Here's it's an overreaction because he's pitched 11 innings.
That's fair.
Through two outings, you would have to say something to the level of, this is not just an anomaly. This is an outlier of outliers.
It's something this is the greatest 2-game stretch he's ever had.
7. Now, he's had stretches like this.
He's had good ones, but nothing this good.
Whereas, his entire career, his best strikeout per 9 is 8.8. That was his rookie year. And that doesn't count because it was in COVID.
Yeah.
So 7.9 in 2021. He was walking 4 batters per 9. His whip was 1.3. Last year, 7.7 Ks, 4.4 walks, and this cat had a 1.7 whip. And now all of a sudden, his ERA plus is 288.
Yeah.
That's stupid good. Overreaction.
He's going to come down eventually. It's not going to be this good all the time. It's not. There's always that,
I don't want him to be this good.
Why?
Because it's not realistic.
So if there was a chance that this could be Chris Bubic all year, that he would be this level of dude, you wouldn't take that? Screw if it's likely or not. Screw that. If he could, would you take this?
I would take 3.8 ERA.
That'd be first time ever he's below 4.
Yeah.
No, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. Overreaction. But at least you have VORP to back up your reasoning.
You and VORP. Overreaction, proper reaction. Sticking with Royals pitching, though, because I think this should be the theme of a lot of the Royals lately, and I'm hoping more people get with me on this. Overreaction, proper reaction. The Royals are going to finish with the top 8 starting rotation in the major leagues.
Majors, overreaction. Yeah. American League?
Okay. I'm willing to change to American League.
That's...
We get consideration for American League?
They have no chance American and national. But I will say this. Well, you can kind of get rid of... You still can't yet. But it's close because you still play your division. It all depends upon your division. But now that everybody has the same schedule, at least in your division, as everybody else, you can compare,
Comparison tools are a lot better now.
Instead of just saying, American League, National League, it's as close as it's ever been to just saying
it really is because everyone does play everyone at least 3 times.
Yeah. Now, the division, depending upon that, kind of changes.
Yeah, because you still do have a little bit more games against that. And with the Royals in the Central, they do have to play some worse teams.
So, but could they have a top 8 rotation in the American League? That's
what they're doing right now.
I'm going to say overreaction.
That's what they're doing right now.
What are they right now?
When I last checked on Friday, I believe they were top 6 in ERA.
Well, then they've improved that because
when I last checked, because I did a lot. Listen, you were away Friday, and so I spent it doing a little Royals propaganda, and I was proven right.
That's all right.
I was proven right. Again, I'm happy I didn't have egg on my face today because I really thought I might have because I was a little worried, but then I was proven right. I was proven incredibly right, and that makes me very happy. Inside.
You were proven correct on a very small, short sample size.
You are correct. Okay, so let's play this game. Where do you think the Royals currently rank in the major leagues in ERA? We have to pick some very specific, and I'll even make it to starters ERA. Give me 1 second to starters ERA, because we have to do this in a different way. Where do you think the Royals rank in starters ERA in all of baseball right now?
12th.
Incorrect.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. That's like the odds of me getting that right.
I know it's 1 in 32.
Well,
1 in 30.
It's more
32.
like 1 in 15 because I know they're not.
You're in the top half. So it is 1 in 15. Okay.
Yeah.
No, they're better than that.
I'll say 8.
Better.
First.
Worse than first. They're not that good.
7th.
Better than 7th.
2nd.
Worse than 2nd.
6th.
They're 4th. We're not going to keep playing this game. They're 4th in all of Major League Baseball, and also 4th in the American League, because the 5 best ERA pitching staffs are all American League teams.
I just assume every team or every stat in every single category right now in baseball, the Rays are leading it.
Pretty much so, and that's what happens when you face three of, if not the 3 worst teams in baseball to start the year.
So overreaction, proper reaction. The Rays are that good.
Overreaction. They're good. They're not as good as they're showing right now. They have faced nothing but bums.
Who they face?
The Tigers, the A's, and I believe the Nationals.
Oh, what? That is I'm
dead serious. They have faced, I think, the 3 worst teams in Major League Baseball.
That's the hat trick of crap right there.
Yes. Like, the Rays, don't get me wrong, the Rays are going to be good. I think they're going to be better than we all thought. But, listen, if anyone gets to get the look who they've played talk, it's the Tampa Bay Rays.
Ain't played nobody, pal.
They ain't played a damn soul. They have played, because I want to make sure I'm right on, I know for sure they've played the Tigers and the A's. I want to make sure I got that 3rd team right. So give me just one quick second, because I need to make sure I can make a proper joke here. So yeah, they started the year against the Tigers. That's who were their first 3. Yeah, Tigers, Nationals, and A's. They have faced a Ponzi scheme in the Oakland A's, a near Ponzi scheme in the Washington Nationals, and one of the worst run teams in Major League Baseball in the Detroit Tigers. They have faced 1 baseball team and 2 Ponzi schemes. That's what they faced.
The Tigers are 2-7, the A's are 2-7, and the Nationals are 3-7. Bottom of their division in every one of them.
Now, we'll get to learn more about the Rays coming up in their next 2 series.
Real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
I just want to talk because I think this is awesome. The Cardinals are last in the Central.
Yeah, they are.
3-6.
They are dysfunctional.
Everybody was like, is this the best Cardinals lineup in the last 30 years? That's what people were saying.
No, their problem is they're dysfunctional. Like, there's fighting in the clubhouse. They are dysfunctional.
What's the manager benched O'Neal because he was lollygagging?
Yeah, Ollie Marmol and Tyler O'Neill got into it. And listen, we're going to eventually get to a break here, but I need to point this out. If you're yelling at guys for lollygagging in this day and age, listen, you do not need to hard hustle every single ball on the field. Yes, if you, on a pop-up, if you hustle, maybe they drop it and you're at second base. You guys know what the odds are that someone's going to drop a pop-up this day and age? Like 0.01%. Guys catch easy things. So you know what? I'm not going to yell at a guy if he was lollygagging a little bit and he wasn't dead sprinting constantly for no reason.
Everybody, it looks like in baseball right now, is basically even except the Rays because they've played. They played a Division II team.
They've played a real baseball team and 2 Ponzi schemes. That's what they've done.
Who's the real baseball team?
The Tigers. They're a bad baseball team, but they're actually a baseball team. They're a baseball organization. I'll say that. Like they try to win baseball games. They just don't do it well.
They stink.
Yeah, like they try to win. They signed Javier Baez the other year. You know,
dumb.
It was.
I could have told you that.
Yeah, it was.
I need to be a consultant.
Their moves are stupid, but the Tigers are trying to do good things. The Tigers are actively trying to win, even though they can't succeed at it. The Nationals and the A's are not.
Hey, the Nationals have the same record as the Royals.
One of those teams is actually trying to win. The other team is a Ponzi scheme.
Just saying.
The Royals are. This might be contrary to what everyone wants to think. The Royals are trying to be better.
Yeah, they're trying. You can see it.
It's just hasn't collectively come together. The Nationals are in the middle of the my God, we're bad, we'll eventually try and like the Nationals are kind of a Ponzi scheme. That's what they are a little bit. And then, of course, as I will say one more time, the A's aren't real. The A's are a front for the mafia. That's what they are. Because the Oakland A's have a $43 million payroll. That is their payroll. That is the combined total of every person they're paying. 43. The New York Mets' luxury tax is higher than that. The A's are fake. They are not real. Their owner should be embarrassed and ashamed of himself and honestly shouldn't own a baseball team. Because they're not trying to be good. They're just trying to exist. That is what they are. That is what the Oakland A's are. They are fake. John Fisher is horrible. He is the worst owner in Major League Baseball.
Soon to be the Las Vegas A's. But can they do that?
Sure.
Because they'll be the Las Vegas Aces. I don't know. A lot of A's. A lot of A's.
I don't know, man. Moving to Vegas isn't going to help them. It just means Fisher's Ponzi scheme gets a better front.
Yeah.
They're still going to be bad.
Means more people show up.
I mean, sure, the mafia people have got to do something for entertainment.
Well, that and, hey, I got people in Vegas who show up in July with the heat. Hey,
The Oakland Athletics.
go catch a heater at the MGM and then go watch, the Royals play.
That's fair.
There you go.
You're good.
Coming up next, we'll talk Royals and Rangers series coming up next. Tonight against the Rangers, released a few minutes ago. Bobby Witt Jr. leading off, playing shortstop. Edward Olivares batting second, playing left. Vinny Pasquantino batting third at DH. Salvador Perez catching, batting cleanup. Third base, Mr. Duffy. I like that. Second base, Nicky Lopez. First base, what are we doing? Hunter Dozier. Right field, Eaton. What are we doing? Center fielder, Jackie Bradley Jr. Pitching, Zach Greinke. I do not like MJ Melendez not in the lineup this frequently. I don't like it.
It's only been twice.
Twice too many. Okay. I just don't like it. Okay. I don't. And here's the reason why. Dozier's not part of the future. Dozier sucks.
So
Dozier.
I'm going to just re-hit all of this for what feels like the upteenth time.
I know, but it doesn't matter. I'm still mad.
When it comes to MJ, it is what it is. It's going to be a rest thing probably. And 2 games already out of the year. I get it. He also plays some demanding positions, especially having to catch a lot. He's caught a couple of games here recently. They're probably just giving the legs a day off. Like, the season is a marathon. It is not a sprint. I get that they need at-bats, and they do. But everyone freaked out when Bobby sat against the Giants for a game, and then he was fine after that. Like, it's just a day. It is just a day. Everyone needs to take a deep breath. Hunter Dozier, I get it. I am understanding everyone's frustration. I get it. Trust me, I hate watching it too. But you have to understand what they're doing. Like, truly, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm proven wrong. All they're trying to do is get him trade value. And that's what they did with Santana last year. And remember, Santana, the first 2 months, we were wanting to burn the building down. He was so bad. He got on 1 June heater and he got traded.
Santana had a track record of actually getting on base.
I understand.
And was a competent
I understand.
Career
I understand.
Hitter.
I understand.
Weird hill to die on here.
I'm not dying on the hill. I'm telling you that's what they're doing. So I'm tired of everyone yelling about Hunter Dozier because we know what they're doing and they're going to keep doing it.
Doesn't mean
for at least a month.
I can still yell.
You can still be mad about it. I am tired of everyone complaining about it. Like, yelling and screaming about it is not going to change anything. Just look at it like I do, sigh for a minute, and move on. Like, that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Look at it, sigh, go, I know what they're doing and I don't like it, and move on.
Alrighty.
Everyone constantly tweeting about it is getting very annoying.
I am excited for this. We're going to play a fun game called How Many Hits Does Nate Eaton Have in His Last 5 Games?
0. Yeah. But Nate Eaton is a guy they think can be part of the future.
Which is why
he should be playing baseball.
That's why I didn't. That's why I'm just.
You said Nate Eaton and then went, why? When you were reading this lineup earlier, you were not happy Nate Eaton was standing right there.
I wasn't, mainly because 1, he sucks right now. 2, they could put Isbell there.
Yeah, if you want to get angry about any part of this, why is Jackie Bradley Jr. playing center field tonight?
He is.
If you want to get mad about something, I will point you what you should be mad about right now.
He is playing too much for a guy not part of the future.
Agreed. There we go. We've reached an agreement on something.
But I still would rather have. I'm not upset that Eaton is playing.
No,
I'm upset that he sucks.
Yeah, and
at least I can understand putting him in.
Yeah, because he's a young guy. You want him to try and get better
while he sucks.
Yeah, like you get why you're playing him while he's going through a rough patch is because you want Nate to get out of the rough patch.
Play Dozier every other day.
I don't disagree, but we're at where we're at. We're at where we're at with the Hunter Dozier thing. I get it. I get everyone's anger.
It doesn't matter. I'm still going to bring it up.
You can't.
If he's playing tomorrow,
and he's going to,
and he'll
be on the mound tomorrow he will be in the batter's box tomorrow when Jacob deGrom's on the mound, which is going to be brutal. You need as many. I'm bringing some fun into this now. You need to put as many minor leaguers in, like, players close, like young Royals, into the lineup against Jacob deGrom tomorrow, because statistically, Royals minor leaguers kill Jacob deGrom.
Statistically, Jacob deGrom doesn't give a hoot when he pitches in the minor leagues.
Yeah, listen, I'm having fun. Okay, I'm having fun.
Okay.
I'm having fun. No,
I had to rain on your parade.
The only annoying part of this lineup is, why is Jackie Bradley Jr. playing center field?
Yeah. No, I'm with
If
you.
you're gonna put a left-handed batter in center field in this game against a lefty,
Hold on.
but Kyle Isbell.
Hold on. You said the only annoying thing? No. The annoying thing is Melendez is not in there and Dozier is. That is annoying.
Those two things, while I will give you they can be annoying, those two things have logic behind them that, whether you agree or disagree with it, is logic that doesn't make you throw your hands up in the air and go, what's going on?
I do, because I'm going to go ahead and gamble on Hunter Dozier just sucking, because he's sucked his entire life.
The team has not decided to do that yet.
I know, but
because John Sherman's trying to get something back for this horrid contract that he inherited.
What is one thing that we say on this show a lot? Just because you made one bad decision,
don't compound it by making another. I don't disagree.
Just take the arrow. Just eat the arrow.
And eventually
and
they will
move on. Why not do it right now? They are compounding it. And for this, I do see their point. I do. I just think that it is just stupid.
That's fine. You can.
Stupid.
You can. I would have cut bait before this. I would have. And I would have eaten the money.
Yes.
And I will start getting irately upset in May. Because honestly, I'm giving him a month. And he's not going to do anything this month. And if Maikel Garcia keeps doing what he's doing, and Dozier keeps doing this, and we hit the month of May.
Let me ask you this. What if Maikel Garcia is up here right now?
I know.
Here the entire time.
I know.
The Royals might win two more games.
I know.
They might have won two more games. They legitimately have won two more games.
I don't disagree.
Instead, their record is 3-7.
Yep.
Their record is.
If they win two more games, they're 5-5. Yeah, I understand. I get it. I get your point.
So
I get everyone's anger and frustration.
I'm going to end it with that. Coming up next, it's the mic drop. Fulton, what do you got for your mic drop?
Very simple. Royals play the Rangers tonight. I hope they win. I think they can. Andrew Heaney is absolute doo-doo as a starting pitcher. But if I'm going to get angry about the line, I'm going to get angry that Jackie Bradley Jr. is still playing baseball. Either way, they're going to win.
The Ravens gave OBJ $15 million.
Yeah, they did.
That's incredible.
That's insane.
Really
they really did that. They really did.
Coming up, we got 580 Sports Talk. We'll talk to you tomorrow at noon here on Mic'd Up. Have yourselves a great evening.